This is my 1989 K1500 and its brake fluid looks like this. But by the end of the video, it will look like this. And to achieve that, I took the reservoir from looking like this to looking like this. I swapped these for these and I flushed this with this. But the first thing I did was order something to make it easier to do this job by myself. Since I like the convenience of them, I got these speed bleeders, and I got 10 by 1.5 and 10 by 1.25 because I don't know which size will fit my truck. And since I am going to flush the system, I'm going to try and clean up this reservoir a little bit. Now I could get a new one, but this one isn't leaking. Let's just see if I can get it any cleaner. ABS has been disconnected since I've owned this truck, so I'm not even messing with it. I'm just trying to bleed the brakes and get a decent pedal feel. If I can do that, I'll call it good. Look at that fantastic dark fluid. So first thing I'm gonna do is pump that out with way more tubing than I need. So let's see. It's just dirty. So I'm gonna go all the way down to there's hardly any in there. And then I'm gonna see if I can wipe this bad boy down a little bit. That transfer pump is much better quality than the red one that I have at the house. If you're looking at them, they all work. I haven't had any issues with any of them, but that one's better and cleans up it all. Oh, it does. It does. Nice. I'm glad it cleans up nicely because when it's that dirty, you can't even tell what the level was. I was fooled a few times with this truck. This section is difficult, but I'm getting it clean. Now there's still fluid at the very bottom, so I'm gonna have to let that just flush through the lines. It should be obvious when the dirty stuff comes out. Now that is pretty clean. It's not as clean as a brand new one, but that's good enough for my old truck. So now I'm gonna fill it up with fresh fluid and go to the back and get to work. Yeah, the old fluid is already mixing with the new, but it's okay. I'm gonna flush it out. This is one of the bleeder valves from one of my other cylinders, and it looks to be a 10 by 1.5. So I'm gonna get under the car, try this one first. One of the things I do like about these old trucks is I'm doing this with the wheel on. I got a 6-sided socket, and I can break it pretty easily with that. So let's go ahead and get this off. I'm gonna bleed the brakes in this order: passenger rear, driver rear, passenger front, then driver front. So this is the new speed bleeder. And the speed bleeder does have a larger socket requirement, which I think is nice. So I'm tightening it down till it just bottoms out. There, just stopped. I believe this is the 11mm that's working for this. Yes, it is. And some tubing, get on there. I want it to be a tight fit, but that might be too tight. Yeah, that was way too tight, so I'm gonna try the old tubing. And of course it's perfect. So I got my bottle positioned, tubing going into it, and I am just going to hopefully crack the valve and go pump and see if it actually does what it's supposed to. They should only allow the fluid to flow one way. All right, so that should be cracked. Let's go see if it acts as a check valve. This truck sat so long that when I first started pumping the brakes, it sounded sort of like a fart, a wet fart. And then I got a little bit of fluid trickling. But I kept pumping and eventually I started to get some fluid. It was pretty dark at first, and it had lots of bubbles. But with more pumping, the bubbles decreased and the fluid got cleaner. I'm convinced that all the fluid coming is of the new variety, so I'm gonna go ahead and close it off. On to the next one. Oh, and the check valve was working. They came with these little caps. So I'm going to put it on. Look at that, isn't that cute? I'm gonna take off the bleeder screw that was on the new wheel cylinder. And it is completely dry. That is a treat. Playing the same game over here. Till it stops. Position the flare nut wrench. Attach the tubing. Crack it. Now let's get to pumping. It took quite a few pumps before fluid started to show up, but eventually, bubbly fluid did appear. It was dirty, but not as dirty as the first one I did. After a bit of pumping, I was about to call it good, and then I got a lot of bubbles. So I kept pumping until the bubbles went away for the second time. I guess there was just air in the system. I just kept pumping, and eventually fluid started to flow again. Making sure I top off the fluid. Nowhere near as dark as before, but it has mixed with the old fluid a bit. Hope I didn't overfill it. Well, none came out. But I did hear the squishy squishy. I might hit this one again just to be sure. So that's closed and that's cracked. You know, quarter turn, that should be plenty. I'm finally gonna call that one good. Tighten it down. Let's move on to the fronts. But not before the cute little cap. This is the right front caliper, and the bleeder was too hard to break free with the flare nut wrench, so I got a socket. Alright, I think that did it.
Hello, motor.
Now for the new one. And there, it stopped. So I'm gonna crack it and get the pumping. This is a great illustration for why I'm doing this. Look at the difference between the old fluid and the new fluid. And of course, le little cap. Magnifique. This should be the last top off because it is the shortest length of tubing and the last one. I don't know if you can tell, but the reservoir fluid looks a lot cleaner. A lot cleaner. So this is the last one, the front driver's side. Alright, note to self, next time bring some wire brushes. I'm alright this time, but yeah. It would be a better job if you had some brushes to get rid of this. Alright, let's see how quickly I can get the new one on. Okay, minimal spillage. Alright, it stopped. That was pretty quick to see clean fluid. So let's go ahead and lock her in. Look how nasty that old fluid was. I'm glad it's out. Level check. Ooh, and the fluid looks very, very clean. Well, time to crack open a new one. Now I can clearly see the fluid level. That is way better. Now let's see if this thing will even start. It's been sitting for so long. This thing's a trooper! I should not have put this off. But when you need to use your truck, it kind of motivates you to finish fixing it. But like with a lot of other times I work on this truck, whenever I touch something, I notice other things around it that need attention. So I am planning a great deal of suspension work, additional brake work, some body work, and some work on the doors. If you would like to follow along, hit subscribe. If you would like to see the things I've already done to this truck, check out the playlist. Thanks for watching. Take care.